Hello, drum school and drummer friends. It's Alan here. Hope everybody's keeping well. Okay, we are in the Rock School Grade 1 talk through series on all the pieces that are in the 2018 Rock School syllabus. And we are at Bend and Snap, which again is another one of the Rock School own pieces. And it's a super piece. Again, very popular here with my students and the students in school that I tutor. Bend and Snap. So just remember that there is a playthrough on this piece. I'm playing it up to speed. I'm playing it with the music, and you can listen to that, and I would recommend that you do that. And also, just a quick reminder that the hi-hat techniques, because there's at least one in this that I know of, there it is in section D of Bend and Snap. The hi-hat techniques are going to be discussed and in a short lesson that I'm going to do that covers all of the hi-hat techniques used in grade 1 in a separate video rather than getting into it per piece, if you get my drift. All right? So, Bend and Snap. Now, we got 4 sections, A, B, C, D. There we go. And we're going to start with this one. Sometimes you just start straight at the start. But with this one, I'm actually going to look at section C. Section C. You need to have your book in front of you. Hopefully you've got your kit in front of you. And at least if not, at least your drumsticks so you can air drum along to this and work on the coordination prior to sitting at your kit. Okay, so section C and the second bar, which is the very last bar of the piece. All right, some of these pieces in the Rock School series have crotchet-based or quarter note grooves, all right, and some of them are quite similar and they kind of repeat themselves. This one is a little bit different. We've got to play that bass drum note on the and of 3, all right? So we're on the ride cymbal. We're playing the bow of the ride cymbal, not the bell or the edge. We're playing the bow. And we've talked about that in some of the other lessons, okay? So, here we go. I'm just going to do it slowly. This piece goes at about 113 beats per minute, but we're going to do it slowly just to work on that. 1, 2, 3. So, here we go. 1, 2. All right, going to do that again. 1, 2, and 4. All right, now this may or may not be new to you. If it is new to you, then we're playing crotchets. All right, worth 1 beat. You grade 1 drummers, 1 beat on the ride cymbal. And then we have to make sure that we don't play anything else on beat 3 other than just the ride cymbal. All right, so what I do is I would cut that bar in half. I think you should be able to play the first 2 beats. Okay, dead easy. 1, 2. All right, let's do that again. 1, 2. Without me hitting the cymbal in the too hard there, okay? Do it one more time. 1, 2. All right. Beat 3 is a crotchet on the ride cymbal on its own. Just on its own. Make sure you don't play anything else with it. Make sure that you don't leave it too long before playing it, because then, you know, all the notes have to have the same value, isn't that right? So, you know, if we play them on their own, should sound like that. All right, so we've done beats 1 and 2. Let's do beats 3 and 4. So we're going to play 3 and 4, 3 and 4, and you need to do that as slowly as you need to. Okay, it's not a rush to play this. Better to work on the technique, get it right before you then try to play it up to speed. Let's put it all together. 1, 2, 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Again, this may or may not be new to you. You might find that relatively straightforward, but most of the students I have just at the start struggle with that just a little bit, okay? Mainly because sometimes it's harder from the independence, hands and feet point of view to play crotchets and then to do something on the offbeat on the bass drum. All right, as we need to do here on its own. All right, so you don't want your right hand. You don't want to be doing this. This isn't right. Don't be doing that. All right, got to play those crotchets nice and steady on the ride cymbal. Okay? Now, the great thing about section C, once you've cracked that, the bass drum and snare drum part kind of remains the same almost right the way through that section. A couple of little changes towards the end. But essentially, it's 1, 2, and 4, 1, 2, and 4. And at the start of section C, we're going to play, 1, 2, and 4. And then our crotchet. All right? So, we've got our... We're going to start off with a crash. 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, 4. Top of the page. Okay? So, as far as section C is concerned, we're going to hop about from playing quavers on that pattern to crotchets. All right? Quavers to crotchets. We're at the top of page 2. And then a slight change in bar 17. I know that there's a crash at the start, but we're just going to worry at this stage just about that little quaver at the end of the bar. 1, 2, and 4, and 1. Okay? 1, 2, and 4, and 1. And that's into the next bar, into bar 18. So again, you need to practice that slowly before moving into the next bar. Okay? 2 bars before letter D. We've got this pattern where we're playing 4 in the snare. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's relatively straightforward, grade 1 drummers. Yeah. So all those crotchets on the snare drum. Then we're at 1 bar before D. Now, funnily enough, this bar, again, for some of my students, they find it tricky because all of a sudden we're not playing either the right cymbal or the hi-hat, just the bass drum and snare drum, apart from the first crotchet. So we're going to play 1. And I'm saying to them, keep counting. As I'm saying to you, keep counting inside. 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Because that's the way the pattern goes. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. All right, and that is essentially section C. I know that we've jumped in, not at the start, but we're going to go closer to the start, not quite at the very start just yet, because we've played that pattern 1, 2, and 4. And if you look at section B, so we're going to look at section B now. All right, at the end of the 4th bar in section B, and then at the end of the 8th bar, that's right, we've got the same. But this time, to make it a little bit easier, we've got those quavers that we're going to play on the hi-hat, all right? So, section B, bend and snap, section B. That was section C. We're now going to look at section B. I like to think of section B as having 2 4-bar phrases, okay? So 4 patterns, 4 bars that come one after the other that are then kind of repeated, okay? Almost exactly, apart from the very last note and the bar before C. So I'm going to play that little 4-bar phrase. All right, so here we go. I'm going to play the crash, and then I'm going to play the 4-bar phrase at B. 2, 3, 4. All right, and again, you can check this out in the playthrough of Bend and Snap, which is on my channel, and you'll hear me play the whole way through the piece with the backing track. So if we count that through, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 4. All right, so the tricky thing in section B is the 2nd bar of B. 1, 2, and rest. 4, and 1. That's the way to count it. It's almost like you need to practice. In fact, you do, not almost. You do need to practice the 2nd bar of B going into the 3rd bar of B. Don't just try to practice that on its own, all right? Because you need to think ahead, all right? We've got that quaver at the end of the bar, 4, and 1. All right? And that'll push you into that bar. And then near enough, the next 4 bars are kind of the same, but as I say, on a beat 4 of the bar before C, we're just finishing with a crotchet instead of 4 and quavers, okay? Apart from that, they're exactly the same. All right, so that's section B. Listen to the playthrough as well. That's on my channel, and you'll hear me play that. And have your book open while you're listening to that. You don't need to watch that. You just listen to it, okay, with the book, and then watch it again maybe, and see what way I do those patterns. Okay. So that's section C. I know we're kind of hopping about. Section C, section B. Let's look at the opening section, because A and D, the intro and the outro, are kind of very similar. All right. I like to think of this piece as sounding a little bit like ABBA, the famous band ABBA. All right. So what we've got is we've got quavers, not too much happening on the snare drum, quavers on the hi-hat, a bass drum pattern, and say not much happening on the snare drum. But let's have a go. Again, we're doing it slowly. 1, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, and 4, not 4 and. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, that's your count. All right, so as I say, not much happening on the snare. We've got the hi-hat. We're going to kick off with that crash, and then we're through to the fourth bar just before B, and we've got the count for that. Section D is very similar. So the outro is very like the intro. No need to do that. It's kind of the same, apart from the fourth bar. All right, now again, we're going to play and 4, but we're going to do it in the flow of the rhythm. So if I play the fourth bar of D, which is bar 24, the fourth bar of D, here we go, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. Do that again, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, same sort of idea as the fourth bar of A, similar to the intro, okay, but this time in the flow of the rhythm. So that's a neat little groove that they've put in there, okay? So directly beneath that, we have an open hi-hat. We're going to discuss this. I'm going to explain how to do that in a separate video on the grade 1 hi-hat technique section, which is going to be a separate video, all right? So, but just to play it, we're going to play. So it's opening it on the and of 1. Going into beat 2. 1 and 2. All right. 1 and 2. But that's going to be discussed and explained in a separate video, which is part of this set, so you'll be able to find it. Okay. And then we're going to move on. The very last bar, we have a neat little finish, kind of fill groove. 1 and 2 and. 1 and 2 and. Okay. 1 and 2 and. And that's again how you would count it. And then we've got that minimum rest to finish there. So hopefully that all made sense. We started in section C. Okay. Then we looked at the 4-bar kind of phrase in section B. Then we went to A and D sections are very similar. And then we finished off there. And the hi-hat technique will be discussed in a separate video. So check that out. So hopefully that helps with Bend and Snap. Again, one of our favourite pieces here. And I hope you enjoy working through that too. It's a really good piece. Section C, really good. Don't shy away from it. Get stuck in and work it out, because it'll help you, again, as you progress through the grades whenever you're playing these pieces. Right, so that's Bend and Snap. Look forward to seeing you on the next Rock School Grade 1 talk-through piece. I'll see you then.